Welcome everyone to this roundtable on harmonizing global collaboration in the AI industry. This is a roundtable that is all-inclusive of the standards development organizations, the member states, private sector, UN partners. So we try to really include all partners who are working on AI standards, leading or providing requirements and guidance on standards. Some of you who were here on Monday at the WSIS Plus 20 Forum heard the three CEOs of IEC, ISO, and ITU in a session talking about standards to enable inclusivity and development. They talked on many topics. They didn't necessarily touch AI because we had another session yesterday. But that was a nice way to start the week and set the scene on how standards help inclusivity and development. Yesterday, we had the AI Governance Day. And during the readout in the afternoon, we heard numerous times how governments and the governors of AI are looking to the standards organizations to give them the tools to be able to manage and govern artificial intelligence. In the afternoon session, we had the World Standards Cooperation panel with Mr. Philippe Metzger, the CEO of IEC, Mr. Sergio Mujica, the ISO Secretary General, and Mr. Onoe, Seizo Onoe, the TSB Director, talking specifically on how they are cooperating with respect to AI. And at the close of the session, they all agreed to go forward and step up and coordinate AI standards globally so that the governors of AI can rely on the three international organizations here in Geneva to lead the way and bring all the players around the table. So this is the first such roundtable where we have an inclusive dialogue. So that's kind of the scene setting for the session today. We have two panels. One that Ahmed will moderate on the standards conversation. Then the second part of the panel that I'll moderate with governments and private sector. And we have about 2 hours until lunchtime. So we'll try to make this as exciting as possible and also as relevant to today's conversation around governance and standards. So with that context setting, I'd like to invite the TSB Director, Onoe-san, to provide the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Bilel, and good morning, everyone, and warm welcome to you all. At yesterday's AI Governance Day, participants emphasized time and time again that technical standards must provide valuable support to global AI governance and help ensure that we leave no one behind. Another key point of emphasis, one that ITU's deep experience in building consensus has made very clear, was that sound governance will demand a synergy in the actions taken by government, industry, academia, and civil society. It's our commitment to ensure this synergy that brings us together at this roundtable. Thank you, Phil. Thank you for your support. The consensus that we built while developing standards can form the basis for very meaningful, lasting collaboration. We must continue stimulating and connections among AI specialists, AI users, and all data owners and experts in domain where AI could contribute decisively to sustainable development. And we must deliver comprehensive standards. Strong coordination will enable all expert communities to play to their strengths, ensuring that our standards make mutually reinforcing collaboration to AI governance. As standard developers, we are part of an ecosystem giving life by a very diverse range of expertise. Working together, we bring our collective expertise to bear. We are stronger, together. But I am preaching the choir. We all recognize that need for coordination, and from experience, understand how successful coordination is achieved. We need to demonstrate that, showing every AI stakeholders that our standardization process that highly deserving their trust. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Onoe-san, for your opening remarks. I'd like now to pass it on to Ahmed to moderate the first part of the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bilal. I hope you can hear me clearly. It's an honor to be here, of course, with the most, I would say, inclusive and diverse roundtables on the topic. And it's diverse in terms of, as Bilal mentioned, stakeholders, but also in terms of geographies as well. So please, I apologize in advance if I mispronounce any names. But hopefully I'll do my best. So as Bilal mentioned, we'll be starting with the United Nations organizations and then the Standardization Development organizations. And then after that, we're going to have to hear from the governments, regulators, and the private sector companies. I know we have United Nations Environmental Program is a little bit delayed because of the full capacity of the venue issue. So we'll start with UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. We're very happy to be able to have with us Ana Paula Nisho from UNIDO. And maybe the first question I would say, since we're talking about AI industry development, is what are the key strategies that UNIDO is implementing for the industrial development, particularly in the context of AI? And if I can add to that, what would be the challenges and opportunities, and how can you actually mitigate these kind of challenges, particularly with these advancements, to achieve the sustainable development goals?
Thank you very much. Good morning, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, and fellow advocates of sustainable technology. It is my pleasure to be here today to discuss this intersection of AI and global standardization as we gather in Vienna, a city renowned for its commitment to international cooperation and progress. We are reminded of the immense potential AI holds for transforming industries and improving lives worldwide. Our discussion today revolves around the key strategies and interventions UNIDO is currently implementing to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development, particularly in the context of AI and emerging technologies. We will also explore how UNIDO plans to address the challenges and leverage the opportunities presented by these advancements to ensure they contribute to global development goals. At UNIDO, our focus is on building bridges between standards, regulations, and industry development. By bringing together standardization development organizations such as ITU, ISO, and IEC, United Nations organizations, private sector leaders, and regulatory bodies, we seek to address the gaps, needs, and areas for collaboration in AI standardization. We need to identify common challenges in AI standardization and explore opportunities for global cooperation. This involves aligning standards and regulations with the rapidly evolving AI landscape, ensuring they are both practical and applicable across different regions. However, it is imperative to acknowledge that AI is not inherently green. The environmental impact of AI, particularly in terms of energy consumption and carbon footprints, is a pressing concern that demands our immediate attention and collective action. For example, the carbon footprint of a training single AI model, large language model, can be equivalent to the lifetime emissions of several cars. The integration of AI into global industry has brought unprecedented advancements. Yes, it has also introduced significant environmental challenges. The AI Green Initiative, developed by UNIDO in collaboration with the Beijing Institute of Technology, aims to address these challenges by setting a global benchmark for measuring the environmental impact of AI technologies. This initiative promotes sustainable practice across the AI industry, ensuring that our technological advances do not come at the expense of our planet. The AI Green Index exemplifies our commitment to integrating sustainability into AI development. By assessing and improving the energy efficiency and carbon footprint of AI models worldwide, the initiative encourages more sustainable practices in the AI sector. Through greening, we establish metrics and benchmarks for energy consumption, promoting transparency and accountability within the industry. Let me highlight some key components of the Green initiative. We are establishing metrics such as kilowatt hours per training session, CO2 emissions per model interaction, and differentiating between renewable and non-renewable energy sources. These metrics provide a clear picture of AI's environmental impact. We are setting industry-wide benchmarks for energy consumption based on model complexity per application area. We are developing a comprehensive system for companies to report their AI model development data, including energy usage and efficiency measures. This transparency is crucial for building trust and accountability. Ensuring the accuracy and reliability of reported data through third-party verification is also essential, maintaining the integrity of the initiative. We aim to extend the index globally using UNIDO's AIM Global Network, UNIDO's Global Alliance on AI for Industry and Manufacturing, to encourage widespread adoption and collaboration. This international cooperation is vital for the success of AIM Green. As we move forward, it is essential that we encourage a constructive exchange of ideas, insights, and best practices. By harmonizing global collaborations, we can address the challenges and seize the opportunities presented by AI industry development. The AIM Green Index, with its focus on sustainability, will be a cornerstone of this effort, ensuring that AI development aligns with our environmental goals. In conclusion, let us commit to a future where AI advancements go hand in hand with sustainability, ethical governance, and global cooperation. Together, we can ensure that the AI industry not only drives innovation, but also contributes to a greener and more sustainable world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ana Paula, and thanks for being exactly on 5 minutes time. So we have 5 minutes for each speaker. I forgot to say that. And also one thing to mention, there's a Chinese interpretation as well to English, because some of our Chinese colleagues, they got the interpreters with them. So for any non-English speaking, they can use the translation for sure. I see also that UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program already, we have Sally Adwan, Ms. Constanza Adwan from the UNEP, she's the Chief Digital Officer, she's already here. I plan to put UNEP in the second segment because I may have some delays, but if you would like to start now, we can do this because you need to mention a lot of things about sustainability and green, so it's a good way to go to UNEP directly. Would you like that, or should we make it on the second segment?
Whatever is easiest for you, I'm flexible either way.
Okay, perfect. So let's maybe start with UNEP now. So we have all the main organizations first. So we just heard from the media about the developments with AI, with industrial development, and also mentioned a lot of things about sustainability and green. So maybe from UNEP side, in what ways UNEP is currently kind of utilizing the AI solutions to address the climate change, and also what is the most significant opportunities and also challenges that you can see in the role of AI for the environment, maybe in the near future or the coming 5 years?
Great, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Sorry for being slightly late. As you know, we're all jumping from one session to the next, but thank you for accommodating me. So at UNEP, for those of you not familiar with our program of work, we tend to look at 3 aspects of the environment. We call them the triple planetary crises. So this is climate change, of course. The second one is biodiversity, deforestation, etc. And then the third one is everything to do with pollution, chemicals, the industrial aspects. And along all those 3, we look at digital transformation as an opportunity, of course, but never forgetting the other side of the coin, which is understanding, quantifying, and mitigating their environmental impact. We call that the 2 sides of the coin. In EU lingo, this is the twin transition, and so on. But for everything we do, we try to address both the opportunities and the risks. So I'll start with some examples of the opportunities, and specifically zeroing in a little bit on AI, since we're at the AI for Good Summit. So we tend to categorize the potential for AI in environment into 3 rough categories. The first is monitoring and reporting. So lots of potential there and lots of existing applications as well to monitor the state of the environment, as we call it, across these triple planetary crises. So, for example, we recently launched something called the IMEO, the International Methane Emissions Observatory, which detects methane emission hotspots around the world and sends an early warning signal to the affected governments so they can put their mitigation plans in place. The second category is analysis. So once we have data, once we know what's going on, and I always say there seems to be a little bit of what I call monitoring fatigue out there. There are thousands of digital platforms that purport to monitor and report on the state of the environment. And people want to move to the next step. And the next step is analysis. So what insights can we gain by looking at all these data sets? And not only from a single one, but what insights can we gain from combining multiple data sets? So an example for this is, for example, the UN Biodiversity Lab, where we have a set of biodiversity-related data sets, but you can also overlay them with things like climate change data, so you can see the effect of climate change on biodiversity loss and so on. So this is the second step, which is analyzing those data. And then finally, the most underserved segment so far, which is prediction, planning, forecasting, using AI really as a basis for decision making. And this is where we need to work much harder, but this is also where the biggest potential lies. So if I'm a member state who wants to decide where to put a new power plant, for example, where is the best location that minimizes emissions, that shortens my supply chain, but also achieves the best cost benefit? If I want to reduce the emissions across an entire value chain, how do I do that? So it's these insights that can actually serve as a basis for decision making. So this is the opportunity side. The risk side is a little bit more complex, and I'll also try to categorize them in a number of buckets or categories.
Sally, can you risks in less than 1 minute?
Oh, of course. Yeah, sorry. So we all talk about energy use and energy consumption and emissions. However, the story is much bigger than that. So we need to look at the entire value chain, starting with raw materials, extractive practices for rare earth minerals and metals, etc., all the way to water consumption, waste, and e-waste generation. There's a second level, which is the indirect impacts on the entire sector that can happen due to the introduction of AI data centers. And then there are the higher order impacts, as we call them, which are things like behavioral changes, like overconsumption, like overuse of packaging materials, for example, like misinformation and disinformation, which get proliferated due to AI technologies on social media. So we need to keep all of these in consideration when we try to quantify and mitigate the environmental impact of technologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's very insightful, especially in the part where you said the analytical AI, the operational AI tools, and the predictive AI tools. So I'll jump now quickly to the SDOs, Standardization Development Organization. Of course, we have the biggest three international standardization development organization in Geneva. ITU is hosting us today, but also ISO and ISC. So I will start with ISO, the International Organization for Standardization. We're very happy to have Sergio Mujica, who is the Secretary General of ISO. So talking about standards and talking about this relationship between standards and regulations, the question would be, how is ISO developing globally recognized standards while being inclusive to all the voices in the AI ecosystem and having the standards adapted to various regulatory settings or frameworks in different markets? Please.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. So it's a very relevant question. How do we show diversity when we create our global standards? And I think diversity and inclusivity and collaboration between public and private sector is at the very core of the system that was created over 75 years ago. ISO has members in 170 countries, one member per country. And what is, I think, very interesting and very unique is that each country decides whether they want to be represented at ISO by a private sector organization or by a public sector organization. And we have in many countries examples of governments being a member of ISO, and in other cases, private organization being a member of ISO. So at the very core. That's number one. Number two is the way we trigger our standardization process. So normally you would say it's something that we request at the central level from Geneva. It doesn't work like that. It's each of our 170 members that have the power to initiate a new standardization process based on their needs and based on the needs of the stakeholders at the national level. So that's the way the system has been established. And how do we create our standards in the context of AI? So first thing to mention there is that we have created a trusted platform to develop standards. That means that we work by consensus, and it's a double layer of consensus. So by each committee of ISO, there is a mirror committee at the national level. And those committees, they need to agree on what their position will be, and then they bring that national position at the international level. And again, they need to create consensus. It's also inclusive. We have clear rules that mandate the technical committees to have a stakeholder engagement. It's not only about industry, government, as well as academia, civil society, and so on. It's a transparent process. And finally, we take a proactive approach to ensure that developing countries will have a voice. Because one of the risks that we have, especially when it comes to technology and AI, that this is a conversation of a club of rich countries trying to create solutions for large corporations. It really needs to be inclusive, and we have rules and concrete tools that will ensure that level of diversity. In terms of AI, we have one specific committee that we have established together with our sister organization, the IEC, and perhaps Philippe will share more about that later. It is called the Joint Technical Committee number 1 and one specific subcommittee 42. In that committee, we have quite a bit of diversity, 60 countries represented there. And within that committee also, we have a lot of diversity in the experts that participate in those conversations. 50% women and men. It is quite unique within the ISO system, I have to say. It's a role model, our committee on AI on that regard. And we create cross-cutting standards that go all along the value chain and the various sectors. And with that, I'm very proud to mention that last year, at the end of last year, we launched our very first management system on AI, which is a practical guide for all kinds of organizations, SMEs, large corporations, governments, civil society, you name it. It's a practical guide for them to approach the challenges and opportunities of AI, including how to mitigate risk, of course, which is an indispensable component. Together with that, we have standards on basic terminology, because if there is another issue we face is that we mean different things by different terms, such as AI or advanced AI, risk, you name it. And then we also have the capacity to connect this cross-cutting conversation with our sectoral standard. We have thousands of standards on medical devices, on machinery, agriculture, transportation, you name it. We need to connect the AI discussion on those sectoral standards, and we have established those liaison mechanisms.
Thank you very much, Sergio. And it's really good that you touched upon the JTC1, C42. I think we have also some experts in the room from there, so that's really good. So, I mean, talking about the collaboration with other SDOs like IEC and ITU. So I'm moving on to IEC, the International Electrotechnical Commission, and we're very happy to have Philippe Metzger, the Secretary General and CEO of IEC. So Philippe, really on that and what Sergio was mentioning. So how is IEC facilitating the integration of AI standards across diverse industries? Because, I mean, you're mainly focusing also on different industries. And in terms of collaboration with other SDOs, how these efforts are coordinated to work on industry-specific challenges to contribute to improve the digital transformation mandate?
Thank you very much, Ahmed, and good day, everyone. It's great to be here. I look forward also to hopefully an interactive discussion later on. As my colleague and friend Sergio has just said, I think we have a very close collaboration need already between the ISO, and the ITU. Not least also in our structured platform, which is called the World Standards Corporation, WSC. And I think that is also a great basis, and that led to the achievements that we have already under our belt. And of course, that is a good basis to tackle much more going forward. And when we look at AI, it's obvious that this is an ubiquitous phenomenon. AI impacts every sector, every industry. Of course, we as an organization have a core mission around electrotechnology, electronics, and IT, and AI is the next step there in that evolution. So we may be a little bit more narrowly defined than, for instance, ISO, which really has a completely open mandate. But nonetheless, I think we are, as I see as well, very engaged across a diverse range of industries. Like you can look at energy, of course, which is close to our heart in terms also of the electrotechnology, healthcare, smart manufacturing, transport, audio, video, multimedia, biometrics, Internet of Things, etc. You name it. So it's really very, very broad. And the question indeed is that you asked, Ahmed, how do we go about to make sure that what we do is relevant for all these industries in the first place, and how these things also connect and are coordinated? So I would say, in a nutshell, we're taking a three-pronged approach here. We have vertical standards, so we have a lot of technical expertise, technical experts who work specific standardization challenges, including AI aspects in their respective sectors, if you will. Then we have horizontal standards, and I'll speak a little bit about that in terms of also what Subcommittee 42 of our Joint Technical Committee with ISO is doing. And of course, we have the important aspect also of conformity assessment, because it's one thing to produce standards, but then you have to make sure that these standards are actually lived up to, and they are measured how those who produce or offer products and services are complying. And we are one of the, I think, few, if not the only, standard development organization that also runs conformity assessment systems. And that, of course, is also a big, I would say, construction site on the construction in terms of the AI impacts and the interrelationship there going forward. But on the work in the Subcommittee 42, by the way, Sergio mentioned also the gender balance in there. I think it's fair to say that we don't have the same gender balance across the board in all these technical committees. By the way, I think all of us here are certainly from ITU, ISO, and IEC. We are also international gender champions in an initiative here in Geneva, and I think this is a continuous reminder for us to make continued efforts, because it is something that you have to do in a long-term vision. You can't just build up a program for a year or two and then you think you have a better gender balance. But that's just a remark I wanted to build on what Sergio just said. So with these experts gathering in our Subcommittee 42, we have more than 800 experts, and they are currently engaged in more than 40 projects. And so it is really I think there's a very open door there to bring relevant new challenges, also opportunities in terms of standardization to that committee. In addition, just looking beyond just the core activity that we're doing, which is already very diverse, because we are all member-based organizations, we are inclusive organizations. We also have a very, very, I think, important and successful tool, which is called liaisons, where we can leverage a broad ecosystem of stakeholders in different areas that can then create direct connections with our horizontal technical committee. So that's on the one hand from the sectoral vertical committees. I mean, you look at nuclear power, you look at industrial automation, medical, for instance, railway, where we have existing collaborations between the vertical and the horizontal side. And then beyond that, and I think that's very important to bear in mind, we're not just looking at the industrial use cases, if you will, from a very technical perspective. All this has to be seen in the wider context, and that's why we also have very important liaisons with international organizations, and also some of the organizations that are represented here today: WTO, OECD, UNESCO, also other standards organizations, IEEE, for instance, or the Independent International Organization for Certification. So I think this really speaks to the point of your question: how do we support the broader goal here, AI for good? So we look at this in a holistic way. We have, of course, core technical priorities, and then we want to connect those with the wider challenges. I think to the point that our colleague from Euro mentioned, carbon footprint was one thing that you mentioned. That's typically a very salient example of how we are also focusing in our AI work on looking at those aspects when we produce these standards. So ultimately, I think we have a broad ecosystem, which is very specific and focused on the one hand, but also very broad, which is designed to be inclusive, and where I would say even more collaboration will be great going forward, and we welcome and also invite these stakeholders to connect with us and to come forward, because that's ultimately what we need to address our challenge in addressing the Sustainable Development Goals, which I think are top priority in all of our strategies as the three sister organizations in the global standardization system.
Thank you very much, Philip. It's very insightful and touched upon many points. I'm sure I'm going to come back to you on the conformity assessment, uniqueness of ISC, and the discussion segment. And just to know that we have a lot of participants already. And just for you to know, we can have a very interactive session. So we're going to just take 3 interventions and then an open discussion for any comments or questions from the participants. And then we'll continue with the second segment. So we have 2 discussion segments, one after the first segment and another one for participants to ask questions or comment after the second segment. So now actually we're going to go to another very interesting organization, the World Internet Conference. It's called World Internet Conference from China, but it's actually a standardization organization. It's a global organization. So it's an organization of the conference that's called the YIC. And we're very happy today to have with us Mr. Ren Xianliang, the Secretary General of YIC. And maybe for the English speakers, it's time to put your headphones on and make it to English, because he's going to be speaking Chinese and there's a translation. So Mr. Xianliang, thank you very much for being with us today. And the question for me would be, considering the rapid advancement in AI technologies, how is the WIC fostering international collaboration to standardize AI practices, and what specific initiatives are being undertaken to encourage the application of AI for social good from the WIC? Yes, sir.
首先啊，我非常高兴有机会代表世界互联网大会。在此啊，与各位共同就人工智能标准化的议题啊进行交流与探讨。标准化工作对人工智能及产业发展具有基础性、支撑性、引领性的作用。世界互联网大会啊，作为数字领域的新兴国际组织，我们是2022年啊在中国正式成立，但是世界互联网大会是从2014年就开始在中国的乌镇每年召开一次世界互联网大会，就互联网领域全球的一些前沿问题啊进行广泛的交流讨论。每年都有近100个国家甚至100多个国家汇聚到中国的乌镇进行交流探讨。我们呢也致力于搭建全球互联网共商共建共享的这样一个平台，高度关注人工智能的发展。不少大会的会员呢也一直在积极参与国际电信联盟、国际标准化组织、国际电工委员会、国际组织的人工智能国际化标准工作。比如我们的会员中国电信、中国移动、阿里、腾讯、华为这些公司啊，等都围绕这个智能网络、机器视觉编码、计算平台、 模型表征等方面，这个方向啊，研制了一批国际标准。2023年世界互联网大会成立了人工智能工作组，在乌镇峰会上发布了发展负责任的生成式的人工智能研究报告及共识文件。近期呢，世界互联网大会正在组建人工智能专业委员会，将开展人工智能国际标准推进计划，通过组织专题研讨、成果分享等活动，不断推动人工智能国际标准的交流合作，促进全球人工智能健康发展。人工智能标准化工作需要全球各利益相关方秉持共商共建共享的理念，以开放协作的态度和行动，开展跨国家、跨领域、跨文化的交流与协作，推动形成具有广泛共识的国际标准，确保各国共享人工智能的技术会议。世界互联网大会将发挥会员优势，现在我们有140多家会员吧，遍布世界6大洲啊，有40多个国家吧。这个积极为全球人工智能相关企业、标准组织、行业平台开展国际交流和标准化的合作搭建桥梁，助力产业健康有序的发展。此外呢，世界互联网大会也一直在积极促进人工智能应用向上向善。2023年5月，世界互联网大会面向全球发起了爱公益行动计划的项目征集，首批收到来自英特尔、谷歌、微软、联邦快递、诺基亚贝尔、星巴克、联想、百度、阿里、腾讯等多家企业和组织机构的公益项目，覆盖了文化交流、生物多样性的保护、医疗健康、无障碍改造、教育培训、宜居环境等领域。2023年6月，世界互联网大会以人工智能时代构建交流互鉴包容的数字世界为主题，举办了数字文明移山对话，并发布了世界互联网大会爱公益行动计划，提出了建立人工智能公益全球协同机制，推动全球项目合作，开展人工智能公益培训，加强人工智能公益全球交流与传播，共4项行动倡议。我们希望以此鼓励各方凝聚共识，促进人工智能向上向善发展，协同各方应用 AI 技术，弥合数字鸿沟，为世界不同发展水平的国家和地区带来更多的福祉。为推动人工智能技术更好造福人类，世界互联网大会还将继续推进爱公益行动计划，愿与相关的国际组织、学术机构、公益组织、企业等一起促进人工智能技术应用于公益场景的探讨与交流，推动人工智能公益项目的全球推广和落地，促进人工智能技术更好地赋能全球可持续发展。谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Ren Xianliang. It's a very insightful point. And also, I'm really happy that you mentioned projects that is not only from technology companies, but it's like Starbucks and other sectors as well who participate in this innovation of your work and the multiple project and the collaboration globally. We're looking forward to, of course, ask about in the discussion session. Thank you very much. We're also very happy for the SDO Standardization to have with us today IEEE. the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, and we're also happy to have Karim Rabie, Senior Director of IEEE. So Karim, thanks for being with us today. And of course, the question for IEEE as a global and one of the biggest, if not the biggest international organization when it comes to this kind of standardization, I would say you have a growing portfolio of what's called the AIS, the Autonomous Intelligent Systems. So can you elaborate on the key challenges and opportunities, as well as strategies as well, to ensure these standards are addressing from one side the technological advancements and from the other side the ethical consideration?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's really an honor to be here with all these colleagues of mine and the SDOs and other areas involved in standardization. So thank you. Under just a little bit of a background on IEEE. IEEE, under its mission of advancing technology for the benefit of humanity, as well as a global SDO, has a growing collection of AI system standards launched really back in about the 2017 timeframe from our ethically aligned design body of work. We now are proud to say that we have over 100 standards addressing various aspects of AI systems, such as ethics, trustworthiness, transparency, interoperability, all developed in a bottom-up, decentralized, and open manner with participants from around the world. More so, I would say that we also have built out an ecosystem around AI system standards, including pre-standardization activities and initiatives to explore new use cases, industry verticals and technical domains, in which help consider issues and opportunities and the need for standards before they really move into the process. So a lot of that can be discussed and can be worked through so that we can help expedite the development of the standards. We also have a certification program addressing ethical dimensions of AI systems development as well and deployment. I think ensuring that AI systems align with advances in AI technology and ethical consequences involve addressing many and varied integrated challenges and employing practical strategic measures. I'm just going to talk about a few today, but there can, as you can imagine, there's many. I think on the topic of broader global standards, this can be a challenge due to diverse regulatory landscapes, cultural values, and technological capabilities across different countries. Some nations might have prioritized various aspects of AI regulation, and these can pose potential different priorities that may lead to some fragmented approaches, making it difficult to create cohesive or universally accepted standards. By working to align global standards in the broader AIS ecosystem, we can promote international collaboration and ensure a consistent approach to AI development. And I think what was announced yesterday is a great step in that approach, and IEEE would be happy to partake in that. I think organizations like IEEE really play a critical role in facilitating dialogue in a collaborative way among various global stakeholders, not only through its standards development work, but working again in that broader standardization global ecosystem. Just to note, we work through liaison agreements, and also we do have a national adoption program for our standards as well. I think if we look at technical evolution, that can also present a set of challenges. Technology is advancing at a very rapid pace, making it difficult for standards to keep pace with the latest innovations at times. But no one has the crystal ball to see into the future. So it's imperative that there are strong foundational and pragmatic standards upon which to evolve. We talked about terminology, taxonomy, definitions, and a baseline of these types of standards also help address some of the challenges when we need to evolve those standards and we need to look at them through different perspectives. Innovation can outpace standards. That can happen. And it's really our priority to leverage our processes the best we can for updating and initiating new standards as fast as we can. And we do have some I would say activities in place that help us do that. That pre-standardization program really helps do that as well, but also getting regular feedback, regular reviews and iteration of standards as they need to be renewed and revised as well. And on IEEE, we also have some groups deploying the practice of building out use cases and scenario planning around these standards and the processes as well. And as a leading standards community, we are looking at how we can implement more dynamic and interactive processes as we are trying to keep pace with this evolving technologies that are coming into our spaces as well. And to speak about ethical and social implications, that also rises to the top of the challenge list. Balancing technological innovation with ethical considerations can pose complex dilemmas. and evolving standards in the context of ethical implications brings with it a diverse range of human values and backgrounds. To address this, integrating ethical considerations into the core of standards development is needed. And at IEEE, we launched a dedicated program on best practice guide to developing ethically aligned design standards, which can be a go-to guide for new standards development in the ethical AI systems and information technology area. This program and its output will really be sort of a living document, for lack of a better way of explaining it, that will help inform and educate standards developers on the most efficient and effective methods for conducting their projects and addressing, these new issues, evolving issues that are coming our way. And to close on this issue, an opportunity, a strategy is also to embed ethical principles directly into the design and development processes of AI systems, and that's what we initiated in about 2017 timeframe, as I mentioned. It includes creating guidelines for ethical AI development and practices, and we can consider how standards can incorporate ethical impact assessments and the incorporation of ethical safeguards through the AI lifecycle in general. So I'll stop here, but thank you for your kind attention, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Karen. I think you mentioned a lot of work happening like IEEE also in the ethical part, and that was how to deploy it, how to ensure it's happening, and that's going to be the discussion. I think it's a good time now we need to open a discussion segment so that we won't fall asleep. So we'll listen to a very interesting discussion from two United Nations organizations, I would say 4 SDOs, one from different parts of the world. So I will open now for participants on the table and also back, because I see the room is full now. For any questions, for any comments that you would like to have for the speakers or to add, and also for other speakers if you have any questions or comments. So any questions comes from the participants. So we have, I think, David from this side, if I'm not mistaken, we can't see from this distance.
I might as well volunteer to go first, given there wasn't a rush to get the hands up. So yeah, my name, just to introduce myself, and a pleasure to be here. My name is David Cookout. So I represent one of the 117 national standards bodies. So I represent British Standards Institution. So we're one of the 106 and 170 national standards bodies as part of the ISO IEC system. My group, particular part of the organisation, is responsible for ART1, which is the mirror committee in AI, representing the UK interests up into SE42. But what we do is obviously very diverse, not just in the field of AI. Just a couple of observations for me, really kind of being at the very sharp end of the development of standard and standardization. Obviously, we talk about the need for collaboration and coordination to avoid fragmentation. Not to want to be too critical, but I don't necessarily see that happening. I do think we need to be more joined up. I think we're in a little bit of a race, almost like it's a competition to kind of get there first in terms of who's going to be there first to regulate and how we're going to get the first standards out and produced internationally. And I think we need that collaboration. It's great that is now formally happening, where we can work more closely together at a national standards body level. A part of those 170 organizations, we are very joined up. We launched collectively an collaboration called GAINS, which is Global AI Network for Standards, as part of 170 NSBs in those countries coming together to try and better respond to the needs of our stakeholders. This is a very fast and rapid changing and evolving space. And the traditional way that we develop standards isn't always keeping up with the pace. So we need to think about new ways of developing standardization, particularly digital. We're going to move towards a world very soon where actually the rules are embedded in the applications themselves. And that's a tough, challenging thing to do. It's not just about, I use the analogy of how do we create a smart fridge? It's not, smart fridge isn't a fridge with an iPad and an internet connection. It's about entirely rethinking the way we distribute and freeze products. The same way has to be applied to standard and standardization when we digitize. It's not just about taking the way we do it today as paper copies and then digitizing those and providing access. There's a whole really new interesting world emerging there. And in the UK, we have a series of projects that we've launched in AI, launched by UK government. One is the Bridge AI programme, a £100 million programme. It's the first time actually the National Standards Body is involved right at the very early stage of ideation. the development of AI, where we're supporting innovators in that very early stage of embedding the DNA of standardization and best practice right at that very early stage of thinking through those new products.
Thank you very much, David. Very insightful point. I think that I love more of the fundamental industry transforming those standards. Everyone with questions, please can we keep them to 1 minute so we can take as much as possible, please. All right, please. And if you can introduce yourself, please.
I'm Farah. I'm an expert and I have a simple question. Is anyone know how many guidelines standards is developed for AI today?
How many? I didn't get this. How many?
Standard guidelines are developed for AI today. Just a simple question. It seems like everyone has their own guideline and standard. Does anyone know how many are there today developed on the project of development?
So that was to the manager from our team, how many standards or work items that works on solution are there today?
Thank you very much. And maybe you can turn off your mic. It's still on if you wish. Thanks for the question. It's actually also an opportunity since in this part of the panel, as ITU being one of the UN agencies that has been collaborating with other UN agencies here in Geneva and in the UN system broadly, on AI for health, for example, with WHO, on AI for natural disaster management with WMO and UNEP, and also with the Food and Agriculture Organization on AI for agriculture, as well as the UNECE on AI for road safety. These are various verticals or sectorial AI standards that have been developed and were initiated since 2018, AI for Good Summit. I'm not going to say a lot more about them as we have two of the chairs of those focus groups, Dr. Thomas Wiegand and Dr. Monique Kuglitsch. Thomas was the chair of the AI focus group on AI for health. So maybe Thomas will give you 2 minutes to talk about that, and Monique then maybe a couple minutes to talk about the AI for natural disaster management.
Thank you, Bilel. So my name is Thomas Wiegand. I'm from TU Berlin and Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute. Since 2018, at AI for Good, we launched the focus group AI for Health out of a session at AI for Good. We collaborated with WHO. We produced 35 outputs. Some of them were published by ITU and some of them were published by WHO. Among those outputs are, for instance, technical specifications that help you to make AI reproducible, to have quality control, and also to explain AI. On the WHO side, there was the ethical guidance to AI for health, the regulatory considerations that went to the IMDRF forum, and we also produced a clinical evaluation document, how to introduce an AI in the clinical process. And that's all published, and it will now continue in a global initiative on AI for health together with WHO and WIPO.
Thank you very much. Maybe since we mentioned the mission master focus groups, so Dr. Monique, if you can invest in 1 minute, you have some intervention on that.
All right, I'll be really fast. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. I'm Dr. Monique Kuglitsch from Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute. And for the last 3 years, I had the privilege of chairing an ITU WMO UNEP focus group in AI for natural disaster management. It was our goal to create a community able to evaluate different ways that AI is being applied in the application area of disaster management. And from different use cases, we managed to curate 27 use cases. We tried to distill best practices. So some of the outputs that we've had are 12 workshops, 4 scientific publications, 3 technical reports, a glossary that has over 500 terms and definitions, and a standards roadmap, because certainly understanding what's happening on the standards landscape is so important when developing additional standards. So if you're interested in learning more, we are presenting at the AI for Climate session later today.
Thank you very much, Mike, for this intervention. I also saw a hand from Dr. David Philip, I think, David from VTC1 Subcommittee 42, that was mentioned also by Sergio and by Philip. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So it was very nice to hear about our committee from the governance level. Very good, very nice. I am representing here informally the SC42. I am one of the conveners in this committee. I convened the working group on trustworthiness of AI. And I felt compelled to, respond to the number question. So SC42 so far published 28 deliverables. They are kind of horizontal. And this year, actually, we have more. We've broken the threshold. We have now more normative publication than pre-standardization publications. So of course, like every emerging area starts with pre-standardization, like technical report, right? And currently 42 has 32 standards under development, 33, sorry. And these standards include, variety, including, say, big data reference architecture that was started even before 42 was created. But what ISO and IEC mentioned, the first management system standard, 42001. But we have a variety, like this is a system, it's an architecture. We have ethical considerations, guidance. But we have also deep dives on trustworthiness characteristics, like detailed taxonomy for transparency, bias management, explainability, controllability, and controllability, very key thing, for this big governance ask to have human oversight in AI. So there is a huge program, exciting work. Also, what ISO and IC mentioned, like we have a great gender balance. But not only that, I think for ISO IC 42 and the European mirrors and Senelec JTC 21, I think those are currently in the world of standardization committees with best inclusiveness. Like not only industry, really not only industry, like with great representation by consumer organizations, civil society, environment, etc. So I think it's really good because thanks to AI, civil society and other stakeholders in national bodies see that it's important to participate in standards development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Is there one last comment or question before we go back to IT? Because we didn't answer Farah's question. It was very simple, specifically to the numbers. So I'll put it to that in the end. But any other last comment and question from participants or from the floor? We have Karim Rabie from Red Hat. Karim, please.
Thanks, Ahmed, and it's really an honor to be here today. So I'd like to reflect on what Dr. David has said, because I'm representing Red Hat, so we work with software. Eventually, we provide this technology as products and solutions to our customers. So my point here is actually the relation between the standardization efforts and what is being done on the open source working groups or the community working groups. So sometimes we feel that there is a complete disconnect between what's happening on the ground, because open source working groups are working, innovating in a very high speed. I would say the pace is very high, while the standardization cycle is really slow. I mean, it's very. We can compare it to what was happening to standardizing the radio, the transport, the network, and this is not keeping the pace with what's happening in software. So my question to you, what are the efforts actually to try to bridge this gap, try to harmonize and coordinate with these groups? Because I witnessed the same disconnect. Hopefully we don't have this disconnect in AI, but I witnessed the same disconnect in the cloud. So we had a lot of standards in the cloud, but on the ground there was open source groups like Linux Foundation or whatever doing efforts, and in the end that caused somehow confusion for our customers. I mean, what path to be followed? So hopefully we don't have the same issue again with AI here.
Thank you, Karim. I see. David, you wanted to respond to it in less than 30 seconds, please.
Yes, well, I think I have a response here. Like JTC1 is actually quite strongly collaborating with open source initiatives. Well, we have a program called fast transpositions, and so we have a number of open source organizations who are actually transposing their specifications, including Eclipse Foundation, JDF. Well, Oasis is not traditionally an open source community, but they have a strong open source program. So there is a lot of convergence. I think it's happening in JTC1. Thank you.
Okay, but just really quickly, Karen, please, from IEEE.
Yeah, very quickly. At the IEEE, we also have an IEEE SA open source program that we stood up about 4 years ago. So it's really kind of trying to bring the open source community closer to that standards development activities as well. So we can definitely share more information offline, but just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you don't see any other questions or comments, I'll come back to Ren to answer the specific question that's outstanding here, and we can take it for the second segment.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. So Farah, the ITU published 100 standards that have AI or machine learning in the various areas of the study group's competence, from telecom, quality of service, network management, and of course, some of the standards that Thomas and Monique mentioned that were adopted by the study groups on AI for health, natural disaster management, FAO. So it's 100 standards published, 120 that are under development, a total of 220 standards. And also on the question around open source, Karim, I don't know if you were here yesterday afternoon. We had a panel session with the Linux Foundation, Meta, Google, Wikipedia, and other stakeholders that were working on, and the question was to open source or not open source large language models. And on Monday, the ITU SecGen and the minister from Switzerland announced a new collaboration on the Open Wallet Forum between the Linux Foundation and ITU. So definitely your point about the speed of open source and standard is something that the whole community is, as you heard from IEEE, JTC1, the standards community and the open source community are opening up and partnering to make sure that we serve the industry and the users at the end in an orchestrated manner. With that, thank you, Karim, Ahmed, for moderating the first panel. I'd like to move very quickly and maybe skip the coffee break if you don't mind. Yeah. And by the way, we are the lucky ones to be in the building. I just saw a picture from my colleagues. There is a line queue all the way to the post office. So this is becoming the biggest show in town, and we're very happy. It's a good problem to have. So maybe Ambassador Schneider will need to find a bigger space next year. Which brings us to the second session. Really, the government colleagues and private sector have been listening very carefully to the UN, to the standards development organizations on the work that we're doing in AI. But now I'd really like to hear from you in this segment on governments and private sector. We'll start with Ambassador Thomas Schneider from Switzerland. Given Switzerland's focus on ethical AI regulation, how are Switzerland and the Council of Europe promoting the development of responsible AI regulation and standards? And what collaborative efforts with international partners would ensure that these regulations are effectively deployed? Over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Bilel, and welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be in this round, because I think it is very important that not only standardization organizations, be they global or regional, national, work together, but that there is also cooperation with people that deal with social issues, economic issues, environmental issues, human rights issues, and so on. I'm very happy to see, I knew it before, of course, but to be confirmed that this is really the case increasingly, because it's necessary. And I don't know whether any of you heard me yesterday to compare AI regulation or governance with regulation or governance of engines, where we have thousands of technical standards, legal standards, but also social cultural norms that may differ and vary depending on histories, depending on ways cultures deal with risks or how they prioritize risks across the world. and not one single standard or 10 or whatever that are the same identically for the whole world. And the same also again for law. So I think we probably may expect something like this to happen also with AI, that there will be no one. The politicians and the media would love to have one person responsible for everything, so they have someone to blame if things go wrong, but that's probably not the complexity of the direction of complexity we're going to. So it's good that we cooperate, that we know about each other, that we open up the silos. The silos don't need to disappear. It is not that suddenly everyone should do everything, that technical discussion should be politicized unnecessarily. I don't think that this is what we should go for. So we'll keep our roles and responsibilities. They may evolve, but we need to know about each other, and we need to know how we should interplay so that whatever we do on a political level, on a regulatory level, on a technical level, we help the people in the world to better achieve the SDG goals for each of us all over the world, and so that we make all our processes and action streams work together like two wheels in a Swiss clockwork that actually shows the time correctly, doesn't go too fast, doesn't go too slow, and doesn't break down. So I think this is important, and I think this is also one of the key goals, that we give guidance to the industry, to users, to regulators together. None of us can do this alone. On how to interpret political goals, political requirements, how to break this down, how to operationalize these things in a way that actually things get manageable for normal people or for everyone in their functions. And to give you one example, since I happen to be the one that has negotiated the first binding convention on AI at the Council of Europe with 57 countries, it's great. We now have a text that is adopted. It's a legal text. It's on a very general level of principles that should allow also other countries to sign up to this, to implement it according to their national legal system and tradition. But it's just a paper. So at the same time, the Council of Europe has spent years now on working on something that we call RIBERIA, which is a so-called human rights, democracy and rule of law, risk and impact assessment. And we're not doing this alone at the Council of Europe, or the Secretariat with member states representatives like me. We are working with the Alan Turing Institute, but not only. We are working with quite a lot of the institutions, or in one way or another, with all of you involved, also through the OECD that is gathering all kinds of standardization institutions, also with European ones and others, because whatever can be done on a technical level, you can have technical standards on product safety, on environmental issues and other issues. Whatever we can use also to operationalize human rights, democracy and rule of law goals. We should not reinvent the wheel and should build our work on what is already there, what is already done. Of course, there may be a gap that needs to be filled. So we are trying to identify the gap and trying to build on what is there and operationalize the gap in terms of, helping the industry, helping others to understand, like they need to understand what product safety means, how you get there, what human rights, democracy, and rule of law principle mean, and how they get there. So this is fundamental, that we interplay with each other, with our different roles, but in a way that, again, in the end, we have something that works together, and that we harmonize wherever we can, but we may not be able to harmonize everything. We may be able to harmonize more than we used to harmonize with the engines. Even a neighbor country, they have different traffic rules, so they like to have roads where they have no speed limits. This is fine for us as neighbors, as long as it doesn't negatively impact us. Even some Swiss people and some French like to go there and test that too. As long as people behave responsibly, this self-regulation system also seems to work. So this is just to say there are different perceptions of risks, different traditions, and I think we have to account for this diversity also when it comes to AI, trying to harmonize whatever is necessary, but also allow for diversity wherever it's possible, and then see where we are at in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and so on years' time. Thank you very much.
Ambassador Schneider, thank you very much. It's very important, one of the points you made in terms of we know how to do standards. collectively between ISO, IC, IEEE, and all HATC1 and so on, hundreds of years of experience with different technologies. So AI is a new technology, and we're equipped to do that. And there is no need to create new institutions just for AI standards. We know how to do that collectively and collaborate. Thank you for that point. Now I'd like to move to Ambassador Steve Lang from the United States. Steve, what initiatives is the United States undertaking to support the integration of ethical and responsible AI policies? Given the rapid advancement of AI development from the private sector, and how do we ensure a beneficial collaboration between regulators and the private sector to ensure responsibility without slowing down the AI innovation? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to join this discussion. I think it's important. The United States objective when it comes to AI is really to address the risks in order to be able to realize the benefits for all, and standards are a critical component of addressing those risks. First, I'd like to say a few words about the steps that have been taken by the United States to seize this tremendous promise and to manage these risks and to promote the benefits of AI around the world. President Biden signed an executive order in October 2023 on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of artificial intelligence. And the AI executive order demonstrates that the Biden-Harris administration is committed to advancing responsible and human rights respecting AI and to promote innovation and competition while managing the risk of misuse. The AI executive order builds on the U.S. blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights, the NIST AI risk management framework, and the voluntary commitments made by leading U.S. companies to advance safe, secure, and trustworthy development of AI to ensure that AI is used for mutual benefit in developed and developing countries alike. The AI executive order is anchored in a belief that AI will impact almost all facets of government and society around the world, and that a multi-stakeholder and international approach is necessary to mitigate the potential risks. We have a shared interest in navigating the opportunities and the risks together, and I know this is very much the theme of our panel here today. Given the discussion that we've heard on standards, it's worth highlighting the work of the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, related to AI risk management and its follow-up pursuant to the AI executive order. In January of 2023, NIST released its AI risk management framework. This framework is intended for voluntary use to address risk in the design, development, use, and evaluation of AI products, services, and systems. The framework was developed through a consensus-driven, open, transparent, and collaborative process with the private and public sectors, which is an important hallmark of all AI work in the United States. The NIST risk management framework has already been used extensively by industry and government stakeholders in the United States and abroad. Following up on the executive order, experts at NIST are working to develop guidelines for the safe and responsible development of AI models, create test environments to evaluate these systems, and develop guidelines on privacy and on determining when content is AI generated. As a non-regulatory government agency, NIST's role is to provide voluntary guidelines, testing environments, and information resources to help organizations develop, deploy, and use AI technologies that are safe, secure, and trustworthy. While NIST's contributions may inform standards development, private stakeholders will continue to lead the development of AI standards in open, transparent, consensus-based standards for example, JTC1, which has been mentioned several times today, and which is one of the key places where these international discussions of standards are taking place. In the United States, we believe in a transparent, consensus-based, and private sector-led approach to developing standards for new and emerging technologies generally, including AI. And that is how we'll arrive at standards that are technologically sound, have earned people's trust, and reflect our values. The executive order also led to the establishment of a new U.S. AI Safety Institute. Within NIST, the U.S. AI Safety Institute strategic vision announced last week in Seoul by Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo further underscores the importance of public-private partnership in addressing safety of the most advanced AI systems. And it has two key principles in mind. One is that beneficial AI depends on AI safety, and that AI safety depends on science. And the AI Safety Institute will leverage input from industry, civil society, academia, and government as part of that process. Also announced in the Seoul ministerial statement was a plan to help launch a global scientific network of AI safety for AI safety. This will take place through meaningful engagement with AI safety institutes and other government-backed scientific offices focused on AI safety and committed to international cooperation. Again, highlighting this important aspect of partnership and collaboration. So to conclude, I would just also like to recognize the many international fora where the United States is working to promote responsible AI development. Earlier this month, Korea held the Seoul AI Summit I just mentioned, and the OECD also revised its foundational recommendation on AI. In addition, we are continuing to support the outcome of the G7 Hiroshima AI process, including the Code of Conduct for organizations developing AI systems. And just highlighting also that in the United Nations, the General Assembly recently approved a resolution on AI. We have a shared interest in realizing the promise of AI together, fostering innovation and opportunity and development while managing and minimizing the risks. And we need to build on the good that has come before and now work on unified approaches that promote human rights and democratic values while advancing innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lang, and thank you also for highlighting the critical role that the private sector plays in the standards development. And we will get to hear from some of our private sector friends here later today. Now I'd like to move to Dr. Yu, President of CAICT. Given China's rapid advancement in AI and its significant role in global AI development, how can CAICT contribute to the international standards of AI technology to ensure both innovation and safety? And what steps are being taken to foster collaboration with other countries and organizations in this effort? Thank you. And I think it's going to be in Chinese, so you might want to use the headset.
谢谢布莱尔，很高兴参加这个会啊。这个刚才听到各位专家的发言，非常受启发。我就这问题其实就CICT 的一些实践做一点这分享吧。那么中国信通院呢是中国一个比较重要的推动标准化工作的一个机构。那我们也致力于推动人工智能的发展和创新和安全。过去几年呢，我们也做了一些工作吧，我大概从几个方面给各位分享一下。那么第一个呢是结合中国人工智能的创新和安全的治理的实践来开展标准化的工作。那么2016年以来，那么中国呢出现了很多的这个人工智能一些应用吧，这个和产业发展。那么我们呢 CIC 也是与中国的产业界、学界包括政府一起和这个我们牵头了，围绕着人工智能创新、安全和治理，我们牵头了大概制定了牵头研究了大概100份吧。这个中国国内的标准，这个标准呢覆盖了这个评估的测试、数据的治理、安全的框架、应用的成熟度、安全的风险管理。那么像人工的安全的话，像我们就也参考了这个国际上的安全的这些研究，我们也推动了像安全的基准 benchmark 的这些safety 的这些相关的研究吧。我们也会把其中的一部分的相对的我们觉得还比较成熟的一些最佳实践呢提炼出来，我们也会形成一个标准提案呢，也希望向国际组织里面去提交，与国际同行一起来推动。第二个呢方面是我们也积极参与了人工智能的国际标准化的工作。那么 CICT 呢
传统上在 ITU 的参与密度工作是比较多的。同时我们也参与对面的我们 ISO、IEC、IEEE 他们的这些研究工作，我们也都有参与。那么我们也参与了我们ITU 各个研究组的人工智能标准的一些研究工作，还有像 AI 这个 for Health 这种焦点组的创建和相关的工作呢，我们也支撑了 ITU AI for Good 的use case 的这个征集的活动。那么这是我们做的一些相关的一些工作嘛。还有一个就是关于人工智能国际标准化人才培养和能力建设，这一点呢，我们觉得也非常重要。这个除了我们自己 CICT 的专家的那个培养以外的话，我们与 ITU 共建高级的培训中心 COE。那么2023年呢，也成为全球的首批的ITU 的 ATC 啊，国际间的学员培训中心。那么过去几年呢，我们为80多个国家的可能近千位的各国的这个技术人员以及政府的官员等等吧，产业界人员吧，做了一些相关的培训。这里面当然不光是主要可能还不是人工智能，但也涉及了人工智能这部分。那主要是 ICT 标准化的一些工作，以及 ICT 如何利用 ICT 赋能经济社会发展的这些工作，这是我们做的一些工作。但总体上，我觉得中国对人工智能的标准化非常重视啊，围绕创新和安全做了大量这个工作。下一步的话也有分享几点建议嘛。第一个来说的话是进一步加强人工智能国际标准化的协调机制。我觉得昨天一个非常高兴的，昨天下午看到了 ITU、ISO、IEC 里面共同去推动 AI 的这个标准的国际化的这个协调，我觉得这个特别重要。我们也希望在充分尊重各国的文化多样性的基础上呢，加强人工智能领域标准化的高层对话和政策接轨，分享最佳实践。有可能会建立一个具有广泛代表性的全球人工智能的标准化协调机制，形成了人工智能国际标准化的路线图。第二个呢是建议是加快人工智能国际标准的制定的步伐。那么围绕人工智能发展、治理、安全的这个迫切需要，那么识别出标准化的优先议题。我们觉得像人工智能名词术语、参考框架、安全治理等重点标准制定呢，通过各个国际标准组织的协同合作呢，加快推进。第三是推动人工智能国际标准的落地应用。我们觉得一个非常重要的标准的制定里面，它的价值在于它如何去应用，结合产业的实践去落地。所以我们也建议各国可以针对这个国际标准化已经发布的成果，加强培训推广工作，也可以促进基于国际标准的第三方的这个评测和认证，探索构建人工智能国际互认的测试的沙箱，推动评估评测结果的国际互认，加速人工智能国际标准在全球范围的采纳应用。这一点我们觉得也是特别重要。最后呢，我们是有一个就是我们今年的7月会用 ITU 中国南半 IT 和ITU 和以及上海市政府在上海会开一个 ITU AI for Good 的论坛，我非常欢迎和希望大家能够各国人来参加嘛，我们共同进一步去探讨的发展、创新和安全治理的工作啊，谢谢。
Shishi, thank you very much. And now I'd like to move, and thank you for your support to the AI for Good and also all of the efforts that you're doing in ITU on AI. Now I'd like to move to the host of our World Telecom Standards Assembly later this year. India, as you know, is hosting our assembly from 14 to 24 October. And we have the pleasure of having the Additional Secretary of the Department of Telecom in India, Mr. Niraj Verma. Mr. Niraj, given India's recent initiatives in regulating AI and leveraging big data, what role do you see India playing in contributing to global AI standards and regulations? And how do you plan to ensure that India's policies and innovations are integrated into the global standards framework? Specifically, how do you envision these efforts aligning with the objectives of the WTSA? Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to represent my country. India is actively engaging on the global stage to harness the potential of AI and emerging technologies for sustainable development, economic growth, and societal benefits. India has engaged in various bilateral arrangements in fields of AI with US, UK, EU, etc. Similarly, collaborative steps have been taken with global universities through Indian institutes like IITs and other universities. India is founder member of the Global Partnership on AI, GPA, where the multi-stakeholder initiatives which aim to bridge the gap between theory and practice on AI by supporting cutting-edge research and applied activities on AI-related priorities are being done. GPA being bring together countries and experts to collaborate on the responsible development and use of AI. GPA can contribute to global AI standards and regulations. India is also collaborating with international bodies and is engaged with international standard organizations such as ISO, IEEE, IC, and ITU for development of global AI standards through research, collaborations, and joint initiatives. We have come out with national strategy on AI through formulation of this policy by our planning commission, namely Niti Aayog, and it aims to harness potential of AI to drive inclusive growth and address societal challenges. Focus is on key sectors, fostering collaborations and ensuring ethical AI development. I would like to highlight that under Department of Telecommunication, the Telecommunication Engineering Center, or TEC, is the standard setting organization and is actively engaged in AI and ML. TEC has issued a standard on fairness assessment and rating of artificial intelligence systems, which has been drafted after extensive stakeholder consultations. It provides a systemic approach to certify fairness in AI systems and assess bias risks. It involves a three-step process that includes assessing bias risk, determining thresholds for matrices, and conducting bias tests. Formulation of new standard on robustness assessment and rating of AI systems for telecom networks is underway. India has set up national working groups mirroring the ITU study groups. The members include those from industry, academia, startups, researchers, government departments, etc. This helps in channelizing the research and innovation being done in the country through the national working groups into contributions to the corresponding ITU study groups. Similarly, the initiative and activities of ITU and other standard bodies are discussed with experts through the national working group. This ensures that India's policies and innovations are integrated into global standard framework. Now, as you had mentioned, India is setting up organizing WTSA 2024. We had curtain raiser of WTSA 2024 and India Mobile Congress 2024 in March this year. The event is from 15th to 24th October 2024, and it will be preceded by Global Standard Symposium GSS 2024 on 14th October 2024. Similarly, 8th edition of Asia's premier digital technology exhibition IMC 2024 will be held from 15th to 19th October. I welcome all the delegates to participate in this. The emphasis will be on collaboration and cooperation amongst stakeholders. This will offer a unique opportunity to set up new standards for us. I would highlight that WTSA 24 will attract over 2,000 technology developers, including leaders, academicians, and policymakers from 193 member countries, along with more than 900 associates or sector members of ITU. The prestigious ITU conferences and IMC 2024 are expected to witness approximately 800 plus CXOs and delegates 15,000 plus attendees, 350 plus exhibitors, 400 plus speakers, and more than 80 sessions. WTSA and India together aim to develop and harmonize international telecommunication standards, address global challenges, foster collaborations and innovations, and support knowledge sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Additional Secretary Neeraj Verma from India. And thank you for welcoming everyone to the WTSA later on in India and for sharing your AI strategy. We also understand that the Asia Pacific telecommunity is preparing a new AI resolution for WTSA. So we look forward to how that will develop over the next preparatory process months. Now I'd like to move to Her Excellency, Dr. Mercedes Araminda Falco, the Uruguay regulator. Buenas tardes, and given Uruguay's proactive stance in adopting new technologies, what are Uruguay's regulatory approaches given AI rapid advancement to ensure equitable access and inclusion in the digital age? Over to you, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to participate in this roundtable on harmonizing collaboration in the AI industry. Today, I want to share Uruguay's perspective on how we are working on the standardization, regulation, and development of the AI industry while balancing human rights, ethics, and promoting innovation. Uruguay has been diligently working to position itself in the field of artificial intelligence in Latin America. We developed a national AI strategy in 2020, which marked a significant milestone in our journey towards technological innovation and ethical development. This initial strategy primarily focused on the digital government sector. In 2021, Uruguay has adopted UNESCO's principles on the ethics of AI. Subsequently, we approved a law mandating our Agency for Electronic Government and Information and Knowledge Society, AGESIC, to create a new national strategy of AI that encompasses both the public and private sector and consider international standards. Nowadays, we are working in several key objectives. Firstly, to create a comprehensive national AI strategy that incorporates multiple perspectives. Secondly, to integrate UNESCO's ethical recommendations and international principles and standards into the strategy. Thirdly, analyze and develop the appropriate regulatory framework for Uruguay, considering various international initiatives and precedents. Fifthly, we establish the institutional framework and governance model necessary to lead the implementation of these strategies and ensure their sustainability. This includes creating a space to coordinate national positions and monitor the execution of the strategy. Also, launch an AI observatory as a tool for transparency and accountability regarding the use of AI in the state and progress in implementing the strategy. Finally, to develop an integrated framework through the creation of the first national data strategy, the digital citizenship strategy, and the national cybersecurity strategy, which are being developed and in parallel. In this line, we are developing a participatory process. We have categorized over 400 proposals received during the dialogue tables involving more than 400 representatives from public institutions, international organizations, academia, civil society, and the private sector. These proposals are currently being analyzed for feasibility. To support this process, we have established a strategic public sector committee for AI and data with the following objectives: accompanying the development of the national AI strategy and the national data strategy, integrate strategy missions from transversal sectors and key productive sectors, support interinstitutional interaction, and assist in the validation and launch of the final versions following public consultation. Also, to further promote innovation, we have developed the Uruguay Innovation Hub. This hub is designed to foster innovation by providing support and resources to startup and tech companies. We are proud to have established laboratories where technology can be developed and tested. These labs provide a collaborative space for experimentation and advancement in AI technologies. We understand that to live in AI, we must invest in the education and training of our population. So we have launched several educational programs and collaborations with universities to promote research and development in AI. These initiatives aim not only to create a new generation of AI experts, but also to foster a culture of innovation and creativity. International collaboration is crucial for harmonization in AI standards and regulations. So Uruguay has been actively participating in international forums and aligning its policies with global best practices. We are involved in initiatives with different organizations, integrating international ethical and technical standards into our own policies. For example, we adhere to UNESCO's recognized principles on the ethics of AI. Looking forward to the future, we are excited about our plans to establish an AI observatory. This observatory will monitor the development and impact of AI technologies, providing insights and recommendations to ensure that our AI initiatives remain aligned with ethical standards and the necessities of our society. This is part of our broader commitment to continuously improving and adapting our policies as technology advances. In summary, Uruguay is actively working to create an AI ecosystem that not only promotes innovation, but also ensures the protection of human rights and ethics. Through initiatives like the Uruguay Innovation Hub and our forthcoming AI Observatory, we are fostering an environment of responsible and forward-looking thinking AI development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your projects and plans in Uruguay and how capacity building is an important element and how you are using standards in that process. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from our government leaders, ambassadors, ministers, regulators, as well as in the morning, earlier this morning from our UN colleagues and standards development organizations. I would like to hear from the private sector, and we have a lineup of speakers that includes Turkcell, Cisco, Nokia, Red Hat, and Huawei. So I'd like to ask you to be as brief as possible, given that we only have 20 minutes left. So we'll start with Turkcell. Given Turkcell's experience in leveraging AI to enhance telecommunication services, what are the key challenges and opportunities in standardizing AI technologies across the global telecom industry, and how can industry collaboration help in establishing effective AI standards to ensure interoperability and innovation? Mr. Ali Taha Koc, please.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here. As mobile operators, we are entirely familiar with the standardization efforts at Turkcell, the biggest mobile operator in Turkey. We are part of working groups and initiatives alongside esteemed organizations such as ITU and the 3GPP. We also work with NGOs such as GSMA and NGMN on pre-standardization activities. These collaborations help us align our internal strategies with international standards and practices. Standardization in telecommunication is vital in fostering an environment conducive to innovation, enhancing interoperability, and enabling rapid technological advancements. Moreover, standardization brings economies of scale and cost reduction. Without such standardized frameworks provided by entities like 3GPP, mobile internet will not be feasible. Furthermore, as the telecom industry progresses towards more advanced technologies like 6G, the role of standardization remains pivotal in maintaining global coherence, as well as supporting economic efficiency and promoting continuous innovation. The telecom industry is not a driving force for the development of AI models, but with its vast networks, massive volumes of data, and critical role in connecting people and businesses globally, it stands to benefit significantly from AI integration. In this regard, we can say that our industry is indeed a significant playground for AI. At Turkcell, for example, our data centers process more than 250 billion lines of data daily. It is impossible to manually process such a large data and extract valuable insights using traditional methods. Here, AI technologies presents us with significant opportunities. Reliability of AI is absolutely critical for us too. As Turkcell, we have more than 30,000 base stations across Turkey. If an AI model used for the optimization of base station parameters causes an error of even 1% error rate, the resulting damage will prevent us from providing services to a huge area. Meanwhile, we have arguably reached a tipping point when it comes to generative AI, and the only question that remains is not whether these models will become commonplace, but how we will see them used. Yet, I think we are now seeing some interesting signs that, like the machine learning models that preceded them, generative AI is moving offline and to the edge. Repeating the process we saw with tiny ML, we are seeing the beginnings of a small AI movement. AI standardization raises a couple of common concerns that are widely discussed within the industry. Firstly, the challenge of stakeholder representation is significant. STOs traditionally excel in handling technical issues, but AI's broader social implications blur the lines between technical standards and value-laden decisions. Unlike fields with more straightforward applications, AI applications span a broad spectrum, each with unique requirements and impacts. The question of what should and should not be included in AI standard is contentious, especially when it touches on human rights and ethical considerations. This is further complicated by the need for standards to be adaptable to the various technologies and applications, requiring a balance between complexity and flexibility. Finally, international coordination presents its own set of challenges. While there is a consensus on the need for international coherent standards, geopolitical tension and diverse national interests can hinder collaborative efforts. The increasing importance of AI in various sectors add layers of complexity to international standard settings. This inconsistency can disrupt the global harmonization of standards, making it difficult to achieve a universally accepted framework that accommodates the diverse regulatory landscapes of different countries. As an operator that is actively contributing to the activities of STOs, we can provide real-world examples of how we benefit from our work under standardization organizations. We have been actively following the work of the Autonomous Networks Focus Group under ITUT. Collaborating with key global players on autonomous networks, which will play a significant role in next-generation networks, has been a valuable outcome for us. We are currently making preliminary preparation for studies on AI-native network architectures. In these studies, the involvement of industrial stakeholders is critical. As a mobile operator, we are the ones who deliver the technology to the end user. Insights from our applications can provide significant guidance. We can lay out the roadmap for identifying the problems and developing technology suited to the end users. Thank you very much. 4 minutes, 36 seconds.
Well done. Good job. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your insights on how a network operator is using AI and the importance of autonomous network management that you're doing in the ITU. Now I'd like to move to Cisco, to Diane Mavis. In the context of global AI standards, how can international collaboration be strengthened to ensure ethical AI development while fostering innovation and competitiveness? What role do you see Cisco playing in this landscape, particularly in bridging policy gaps between different regions? Over to you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share views this morning on this important matter. And I'll try also to stay in the 5 minutes. So for those who don't know us, so Cisco delivers innovative networking, cloud collaboration, applications, and security solutions. Today, we operate in 80 countries, and we have customers and partners all over the world. So this is why it's very important for us to make sure that we have international standards and that we have interoperability. So where does Cisco play a role in AI today? First, we are enablers of AI. We provide the foundational networking infrastructures that empowers our customers to create sophisticated, AI-powered, predictive, and sustainable network. Secondly, we integrate AI. So, for example, if you take a tool like WebEx, we provide real-time translations. We also provide insight about energy and carbon impact, or also noise cancellation functions. So it's very important also that we think as integrator. And then finally, as deployers of our own AI in-house for developing products and also streamlining business operations. And while we are fully convinced of the transformative power of AI, we also know that we have a responsibility as a tech leader to make sure that it is used responsibly. So we have developed a responsible AI framework many years ago that is operating on 6 key principles: transparency, fairness, accountability, privacy, security, and finally, reliability, where we basically help guiding AI development and usage for ourselves, our partners, and our customers. What does it mean when it comes to standards?
As you may know, the AI infrastructure market is projected to reach $8.5 billion by 2027. So we really need good standards policies that drive global innovation in this space. Today, we have hundreds of Cisco technical experts that are participating in more than 120 standards development organizations, many here around the table. And we do that on many standards such as Wi-Fi, security, voice and video, internet protocols, optics, software-defined networking, but also on energy and also on circular economy, for example. This is very important for us that we keep, this aspect of sustainability in everything that we do and embedding that directly in our products. When it comes to our recommendation, there are three things that I would like to highlight. First, to all the leaders across the table, please continue to serve as the global advocates for the open market-driven standardization system. Many governments are now moving ahead on regulating AI. I'm based in Brussels, where we recently had the successful adoption of the European AI Act. But we know that, through that, there will be also standards directly mandated by the EU AI Act. And so there will be a very important role for Europe. But next to that, while we believe that local context is, of course, relevant, we cannot insist enough on the importance of international standards to underpin and demonstrate compliance, as well as international forums, such as the Digital Hiroshima process that was mentioned before by Ambassador Lang, to help set the overall tone and the direction of policy activity, notably to make sure that AI is developed in an ethical manner and is also interoperable. Second recommendation, do not focus exclusively on trendy AI, like generative AI. While it is definitely a key part, of course, of AI development, a lot of standards need to be set in key aspects, such as data management, for example, field of bias management, or minimization, for example. Then human oversight, of course, cybersecurity, sustainability, and resilience, among others. And we are really ready to play an important role there. And then finally, and we heard a lot about the SDOs around the table, if you're really serious about strengthening the development of ethical AI solutions and open standards, please make sure to also enable greater participation from a wider range of stakeholders in SDOs, reaching out to civil society, to academia, and small to medium enterprises. This is really key, transparency is important. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Diane, for sharing the principles that guide Cisco in the AI development. I'd like now to move to Nokia. Dr. Catharina Maracke. Catharina, as the head of standardization policy at Nokia, how do you see the role of international standards evolve to support the deployment of AI technologies in the telecommunication sector? And as a global vendor, how do you see the relationship between standards, policy, and regulation in AI in the industry?
Thanks. It's a privilege to be in the room and at this desk with this distinguished group of colleagues. And I think many very good points have already been raised, especially from my colleagues here from Cisco and Turkcell. Let me start with the second point of your question. I think we have a good role model on how the relationship between legislation and standards can be handled. And that is the so-called new approach that has been established many years already on the European level under Jacques Delors' leadership. Now, we can discuss whether that is still being handled well enough today, but I will leave that to the discussion part, right? So there might be some adjustments necessary, but it's probably good to remind all of us that legislation in general on all levels should be limited to set high goals, high objectives, and the standardization work should be encouraged to bring the details and define what has been discussed at this conference, especially yesterday. What do we mean by trustworthiness? How do we define safety, and so on and so forth? On the first part of your question, of course, it is important, and I think it has been highlighted quite nicely, for a global vendor to be able to access all markets with the lowest barrier possible. Now, unfortunately, nowadays, I think we can see a shift here from the international collaboration to national protectionism. And we can see that shift, unfortunately, on the highest level by the political level. And I would encourage all of us together to work towards a more international perspective here and put aside, wherever possible, the short-term national interests and focus on the long-term social interest, which I think is extremely relevant with this new technology, artificial intelligence. It has always been relevant, but this technology is somewhat different from what we have seen in the cloud and from other very supportive technologies because it has such a big impact on our society. That is, I think, one of the important parts that I'd like to mention in the context of international standards. I can stop here and make it short and leave the rest for discussion. I just wanted to highlight and maybe thank my colleague Karim for also bringing up the question about open source, because I also sit on the board of the Open Source Initiative. And I think as we move forward on the international collaboration, and especially in the standard setting world, it is not enough to have an open source group at the IEEE. It is not enough to have certain liaison mechanisms. It's good to hear that the Eclipse Foundation is on the way to be in that JTC, in that committee. Nokia is also part of Eclipse, so we are supporting that. But the open source world thinks and works in a different manner, and I think that needs to be reflected better. So the diversity of shareholders, stakeholders that are represented in the standardization organizations, I would like to see that more flexible, and Nokia is delighted to help with that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being brief and also for mentioning the long-term strategy in terms of international standard as opposed to the short-term and also the interplay with standards. Now I'd like to move to Mr. Karim Rabie from Red Hat. Given the increasing integration of AI in telecommunication networks, can you elaborate on the challenge or opportunities you see in establishing robust AI standards to ensure interoperability and security across diverse systems? And how is Red Hat positively contributing to this effort? Thank you.
Thanks, Bilal. One more time, it's really an honor to be here with all of you. So I'll try to make it short following Katrina's talk. So I'll just pick the most relevant, I'd say, opportunities and challenges for Red Hat. The key opportunity here that I see is the harmonizing this kind of global standardization efforts will help us to influence the distributed and scattered AI initiatives to follow a unified framework that ensures sustainability, preserve the green footprint, and hopefully that will reach to complying to a specific or a certain baseline for the ethical considerations following what was discussed previously. Guess what? If there is the proper alignment with the private sector, not just Red Hat, we'll be able to manage the governance of these baselines to our customers or to the market, the same way we did for the NIST controls for security and the related to cloud and software development. So most of these controls now are being monitored and being automatically enforced in the network. So hopefully we reach this kind of maturity with the AI baselines. The second opportunity that I see here is actually the avoiding the technology fragmentation, because technology fragmentation, it's a main obstacle to the technology adoption. If there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of groups, this probably will slow the pace of adopting the technology. So if we succeed to do this kind of harmonization, then we are implicitly and explicitly accelerating the AI adoption. I would pick what Sergio was saying about the definition, because this is a very important thing. It's not maybe something that define the terms are maybe not that important, but there are a lot of buzzwords around AI. It is very important for us to spend some time to put definition for these terms. For instance, last year and this year, we made some effort defining the AI native term. Now I can go now to the community and say, yeah, let's do this and that. This is what is the structure of AI native, and let's do it. But without proper definition, you'll never be able to do that. The challenges, I'll pick like two main challenges. The first thing, the coordination and alignments with different working groups and different open source initiatives, how to ensure that there are no gaps, how to put some proper frameworks to avoid the confusing the end users. This will be a challenge because we had the same story in the cloud, and we know how how difficult it is. Second thing, the standardization, I mean, the end users of the community usually understand that standardization will help them to understand who does what to the level of bits and bytes, how we do the standardization in even 3GPP and IETF. So in AI, because of the complexity of the AI systems, it's very difficult to understand what is happening under the hood and what is the decision-making process. So standards may do some good, I would say, work here to advocate transparency, to build the trust, and to mitigate the risks. And then I'll go to the second part, Bilal, about Red Hat role. I'll make it quick. So Red Hat is the world's leader provider for open source software. We build enterprise open source products from open source projects. This is our bread and butter. And we start to follow the principle of upstream first. So whatever technology we provide is coming from the upstream, it's coming from the open source initiatives. This is why it's not a surprise to know that our product in the ML AI domain, like the OpenShift AI, is based on the Open Data Hub. And lately, we announced the launch of the Instruct Lab, an open source initiative, open source working group with IBM to advocate producing on the open source LLMs, which is now a very trending topic in the telecoms. So we provide the ML platform that actually provide the tools that help data scientists to develop ML models and intelligent apps. We simplify the AI adoption. We help the data scientists to develop, to build the self-service tool that help them eventually to deploy the machine learning model. So as a Red Hat, we keep our support to the open source community. We keep our leadership and participating in open source projects that accelerate the adoption. And we are here and to align, and we keep our alignment with all community members to push industry forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karim. And now I'd like to move to Mr. Xiaoran from Huawei. Can you elaborate on Huawei's view for integrating AI standards across various industries and how your collaboration with other SDOs support global interoperability and innovation?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I come from Huawei and as other vendors, colleague here, but I think when we talking about AI, it's a so hot topic, and but so how say the diversify ecosystem, I think. So AI as a ecosystem. So that's for Huawei. The most important thing is to find our role in the ecosystem. Because we think. AI is so many critical, the roles for Huawei as a technical and solution vendors. Most important things is how to improve our technical and solution, especially find our right users as a global company. Yeah, we just update our strategy internal. Yeah, because. When we talk about AI, we have AI chipset, AI data center, AI cloud services. So many different business model. Yeah, so one challenge for Huawei is to update our business model and the portfolio. But another thing we think the most challenge is how to work together with other nodes of this ecosystem, such as today we're talking about standardization. One is for Huawei internal, for the technical and solution, we think we have a good improvement, such as in 2021, we launched our Pangu big model service. It's already serve 10 vertical users, and we have already 400 business case and bring the value to the end user. But the challenge is as a global business, how to do make the standardization, to benefit all the industry, including as a vendor, because we find so many challenges. One is all here we are, such as we have optical, we have horizontal standard and
vertical standard, how we collaboration, such as ITU and ISO, IEC. Yeah, so that's all we are interested in, and we want to contribute. Another one is just a colleague side, a lot of AI standard already here, but future is not enough to catch the innovation of the AI technology. So what's a new standard? How to build this new standard together? So it is also a very challenge. The third one is as a vendor, yeah, when we talking about standard, but we know we have to face the standard have to face in different regional, different country, different nation. The standard have to support their the country strategy and the national strategy. But we think standard can be the interface and the balance. Yeah, and we think a unified standard can bring a value. Yeah, so for this ping pongs, and I think it's also a very a good opportunity. Yeah. To catch the AI opportunity, especially when we talk about standardization, we think we can use this process and use a multi-holder platform to face this challenge. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Shoran. And I know we're just on over time, so we'll wrap up very quickly. Unfortunately, we won't have a lot of time for discussion, but I hope that you found today's roundtable useful and as a platform to share information on UN, SDOs, government, private sector strategies, priorities, and game plan with it when it comes to AI. And I'd like to ask if you would find this as a useful platform to continue the dialogue, maybe on a regular basis, once or twice a year, but certainly with the AI for Good Summit, and maybe an additional time during one of the impact initiatives as we go to India, perhaps, or to other countries. Just a quick show of hands if you think this would be a useful process. Great. Thank you very much. This, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the conclusion of today's roundtable. A big round of applause to all of our speakers, please. And to all the participants here, we will try to provide a quick summary of today's discussions and perhaps our agreement to continue the dialogue as this is a more inclusive group and a broad group of stakeholders. Ahmed, do you want to say a few words in closing?
I know already over time, so I'm going to be less than 30 seconds. Just a quick thing. I think it's a great discussion, but I think it's just a start. So it's a kickoff. So everyone spoke about what they did and what we're doing in our organizations. But I think now we need to speak more about what we want to do, what are the challenges, what are the issues. So what we don't know and what we need to know with each other. And it's exactly what Ben mentioned. We can continue the discussion, maybe meeting again in India, in the WTSA, or later on as a part of the AI for Good Summit. And we might have this like some sort of working group, adding more members from different stakeholders, hopefully to do this kind of thing in a more collaborative way in the future, of course. I'll stop here, and I think we have a photographer in the room. I'm not sure if it's possible to take a photo with all of us.
First, please. Just smiling. 10 more photos.